Hi there. White Magick. What is it? This presentation is inspired by a YouTube user that sent me 6 beautiful magical sigils. Magic uses sigils a lot, um, which are sort of not only symbols but are also living beings in their own right, angelic living beings, or the opposite, and but non-localized beings that are created into linear form, and the space of paper is divided up in various ways to create the sigils. They're also sacramenta. A sacramentum is Roman, ancient Roman reference to the legion's banner, which was a sacred object on which you had to swear an oath to the emperor. So they do have a very sacred, special significance for people on a personal level and on a collective or group level. I'm not actually at liberty to show you these symbols or sigils because they're being used for another project, which is much anticipated. And so, they're already earmarked for use. But it seems like a use on a collective level. There will be, part of the evangelical, part of the gospel, the good, the good news that is being spread. Um, but it got me to thinking about white magic because they are obviously examples of white magic. I was a bit nervous, to tell you the truth, because I thought that somebody would send me these, and there would be black magic sigils that might do me harm. But then I thought to myself, I am soul, and soul can't be harmed, neither can soul harm, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So, what would be the point, really? It would be like, they would get their anger issues out by sending me black magic sigils, but they actually wouldn't do anything at all to me or to soul. I mean, they might, make me fall down dead or something, but that doesn't really matter because I'm soul anyway, and I'm on the way back to God. So, it doesn't matter, does it really? Anyway, of course, they weren't black magic symbols or sigils. At least I don't know. I can't. Yeah, I can tell the difference. Anyway, what is white magic? I am prompted to ask. And I have a definition of white magic. White magic is the art of facilitating soul awareness according to God's will. So it's got nothing to do with causing change in accordance with will, the will of the magician. It's to do with soul awareness and anything which promotes soul awareness. It could be anything. It could be a symbol. It could be a gospel. It could be a magic. A magic is anything which really is transmitted from the sender to the receiver, and for whom there is great significance, and usually a sort of a permanent transference, a transfer, or not transfer, transformation of consciousness is perceived as a result of contact with this magic, with this white magic. And it's God's will that souls should become aware of themselves, because in this world, as you know, we are distracted and weighed down heavily by cares and pain and fury and the demon, the F demons and the P demons and all that, and they feed off our distress. But soul awareness provides very powerful, if temporary, relief from this stress, and makes you realise that all this world, the worlds of the demiurge, are as nothing, are as a candle to the sun, compared to the inevitable liberation of the soul from the lower worlds. So that's what white magic does. It facilitates soul awareness. And I mean, I've got 12 different points here. At least I think there are 12 concerned to do with white magic. And one of the things about white magic is that it's and I may have to zoom in here in order to see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. My eyes are failing. So here it's white magic. Comes through you rather than from you. And this is a very, very, very important point. But if you know anything about spiritual healing, you will know that. You will know that magnetic healing is healing that comes from people, from the ego. But spiritual healing comes through you. You are a conduit through which the healing takes place. But actually, I think it's far more complicated than that. It's just no, the model for how this actually works, I don't think is known. So, in lieu of the fact that we don't really know, we say this, but I think it's very complicated um, and subtle. But I'm not going to go into the arguments around this. Just to accept the fact it comes through rather than from you. That's a very important point. And down here we have the second point, which is it's slow to work, often slow to work. Although having said that, it can be sudden, very sudden. It leads to permanent change in consciousness, and people. I mean, obviously, this world is one huge banana skin, so it's possible to fall over, even though you've had a permanent change of consciousness. So, but there is a permanent change of consciousness once you've got soul awareness, you're on the spiritual path. There's really no going back. There is only temporary stays and perhaps distractions. Read Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan for further details on that. But having left soul, having left the confines of the wicked city, there's no turning it back really. Even though every demonic power in the universe wants you to turn back, of course, because you're a source of fodder, which is leaving, and that ain't good. If everybody did that, the demons would have nothing to eat. So they're not very keen on that idea at all. Anyway, yes, this is a really interesting one. It's learned and yet simple. Um, I think there is a distillation of knowledge, occult knowledge or esoteric knowledge. Um, I was almost going to say here that white magic is more arcane than antiquity, which is a sort of riddle, really. But it's like timeless magic, and yet people over the centuries, over the thousands of years, have got various glimpses of white magic and the flow of white magic and various insights into methods of being suitable conduits for white magic, let us say, and and you need to learn all about these different magics and the lives of magicians, such as Levi, for example, and learn to judge between what their ego is saying, that is the magic of the things that come from them, and the things that come through them, which are not connected with ego. And then basically you sort of throw it all away, all this learning, and you come up with a very, very simple, direct, powerful method, which you can apply to yourself. And others may take up your method as well and see if it works for them. Suck it and see kind of basis, really, without imposing your method on other people like it's a sort of a requirement. You can't join my gang unless you use my method, which is just thinking like a silly idiot, isn't it, really? Anyway, So that we go on from there. It's beautiful to behold. Well, yes, and for example, the sigils that I've been given are very beautiful to behold. They were done originally in just the rough sketches, and then they were given to a draftsperson or draftsman, and executed onto paper. And they're very, very beautiful, and often, sigils, magical sigils will be drafted onto any medium, and basically onto a talisman, which is an sacred object on which the sigil is placed, etched or painted or whatever. And then you put the talisman on your forehead, in a lying down position, and you just relax and you just commune with the sigil, as if it is a living object, a living sentient being, which it actually is. And when the meditation is over, the talisman will fall off your forehead, either spring off or jump off, or just sort of slide off in a peculiar kind of way. And that's the end of the session. And that's it for the day, like, you know what I mean? So that's that. And then coming on, I want to be brief with this really. um, Arises from a period of intense emotional and or physical pain. So one thinks of the legend of Odin, who gave mankind the runes, and he hanged himself for 9 days on a tree, 9 days and 9 nights in incredible agony and distress, emotionally and psychologically, and physically, obviously, from which the runes came from his suffering. And of course, obviously, the suffering, the work done on the cross by Jesus Christ, from his suffering, from his horrible death, mankind is saved from original sin, from the enchantment of sin, and from the enthrallment of fear. And that's a wonderful piece of white magic right there. And indeed, without going into details, obviously, the person who gave me the sigil said that they had gone through a similar period of intense emotional, physical pain, in order to bring these sigils forth. That's not to say that pain is a good thing. It isn't a good thing. It isn't something to be sought or given to others, or sort of taken on in a kind of, I don't know, masochistic way. It's just that, it just arises from this condition of mind, I think, really. It's a natural thing. And I suppose, pain takes you to the limit of reality, and then you are open to other realities, or the gnosis, through this pain. But it can arise. But this pain can arise. Well, usually it can arise spontaneously, or it can arise as a result of your actions, self-harming actions, or harming of other people. For example, when you think of Saul persecuting the Christians and then becoming Paul after his conversion to Christianity, his vision of Jesus. Um, so there's that about white magic, its origins, and its origins are in this world, but they're not of this world. Such a soul is in this world, but not of this world. You are in this world, obviously, but you're not of this world, and neither is white magic. It comes from elsewhere, power that is other than ourselves, and greater than ourselves. Well, I don't know if that's the right word, greater. Certainly other, and certainly from a more fulfilled form than we are, from a greater, well, yeah, a greater consciousness than ours. Greater is the word I am looking for, really. No other word that can be used here, really. I suppose more aware source of magic than you have, let us say. Now, it creates concord rather than discord. Over the years, I've met lots of magicians of all sorts of different shades, and magical groups and that. And one of excuse me, one of excuse me, I can't stop the video. One of the things I've discovered is that they all bitch about each other terribly, and it's all like scoring points off each other, and saying mean things about each other, and my wand is bigger than your wand, and usually men. I hasten to add, actually. And knowledge is power, and I have more knowledge than you, so I'm more powerful than you. All this kind of silliness, really. And lots of discord, and usually, magical groups all split up and hate each other and fight each other and steal each other's boyfriends and girlfriends and what have you, and all wear each other's robes and then get stroppy about that sort of thing, and all these sort of anarchist groups, like a tyrant always takes over the group and scares everybody away and all that. But white magic is about concord, not discord. So that's, by their fruits shall you know them. And if you meet a group of people who are governed by concord rather than discord, then that's a surefire sign that they are a white magic group, as opposed to a black magic group. And if it isn't white, it's black, because the magic comes from ego. The magic comes from the person, not through the person. So there you are. That's a definition. That's a categorization, which holds true, I think. So we come down to here, is gentle but firm, and this rather, I suppose, kind of dovetails, but is a bit contradictory to being non-evasive and non-threatening and respecting the rights of all sentient beings. Gentle but firm. It kind of implies. I got this from a movie called the boat that rocked the world or something, and he was talking about how to deal with virgins, and he said be gentle but firm. But I think pardon about that, a bit, I don't know, a bit kind of that, really, isn't it? But anyway, the thing is that it is gentle but firm, but respectful of rights, and is non-evasive ultimately. But I suppose once you, like, you're in no doubt of gnosis. It's like the second coming. You'll be in no doubt of the second coming when it happens. You're in no doubt of gnosis when you have a Gnostic experience. So I mean, it may be a gentle experience, but it's a firm experience, all right. It's not sort of a kind of a sort of half-assed, or excuse me, half-baked experience. It's firm enough. It's like, attention, please. The angel demands your attention, and gets your attention because it does something gentle but firm. But it is non-evasive. It is non-threatening. All this stuff, all this magic, which is like, all this death metal kind of, like, tough man kind of, I'm a bit of a threat to society. All this sort of punk magic kind of stuff. It's a load of old BS, isn't it, really? And respectful of all sentient beings. All sentient beings. If a sentient being from an earthworm to a blue whale, they have a central nervous system. Earthworms have two, actually, and that means they are soul. Okay, in some form or another, they are soul, and you must not harm soul. Even though on one level you can't harm soul, you still must not think to harm soul, because soul hasn't done anything wrong. I wanted to make a video about, does Joseph Stalin, is Joseph Stalin in heaven? And the answer is yes, because Joseph Stalin is soul. And, he, a terrible tyrant, brutal tyrant, killed millions and millions of people. But, he hated millions of people. He hated Jews, and he hated, I don't know, dissidents, and he hated intellectuals, and he hated anyone better than himself. And which is just about everybody. He hated his generals. He hated the Communist Party for not being prepared to sacrifice themselves enough. I mean, he had a whole list of people he hated, but all these people are soul. So a Jew is not a Jew. A Jew is a soul. You and they're innocent. They've got no, there's no point. They've got no, you've got no right to hate them or treat them cruelly or persecute people because the soul cannot be harmed on one level, but it has ethic, it has moral ontology to such an extent that you must not harm soul. And soul is present in all sentient beings that have a central nervous system. So you could be very careful about that and not violate the rights of sentient beings. And white magic doesn't do that. And if it does do that, then it's not white magic by definition. And so we go on. Inspires confidence that all is right. This may be a temporary feeling. I was going to say protection. Um, a lot of people, I have a little thing to say here. Often people have OCD very severely, and they have magical rituals which they must do, which sometimes these rituals are actually self-harming, lead to harm. And when you say to them, well, you could draw down, I don't know, Violet Fire of Jermaine, or you could, think of Jesus, or, do the Jesus prayer, and that will protect you from these horrible thoughts that you are afraid of. They don't believe it. They believe that they're horrible thoughts, that the demons, that evil is more powerful than good, and that their harmful, self-harming rituals are the only things which are saving them from total madness and sinking beneath a black wave of hell. So basically, a white magic ritual inspires confidence that all is right. That I was going to say that black magic is more powerful, less powerful. Well, it's more powerful in a way, but it's less powerful than white magic. But that's power is not the word, because power is a word which implies duality, is part of this dualistic world. So power isn't the word. So it just instills confidence in people that all is right. Whilst the white magic ritual is going on, or whilst they're contemplating white magic or using white magic rituals, they feel protected. They feel like white. That God's love is more powerful than Satan's hatred, and that you won't go mad and you won't become a demon if you're using white magic. And finally, well, the penultimate one here I've got is that white magic is more trustworthy than black magic. Really? don't You don't say. Magic. I mean, there is no black magic. Magic is concerned with preserving, creating, and destroying, right? But the problem is with magic is that you really don't know whether it's preserving, creating, or destroying, because preserving, creating, and destroying as modes of energy flow into each other so seamlessly that it makes magic very, very untrustworthy at a base level. And you never really know whether something's going to, come up and bite you, or preserve you, or create something beautiful inside you. And sometimes magic can be beautiful, and it's down here. You're like, that white magic is beautiful. Well, so can magic be beautiful. But the trouble is, it can be falsely beautiful. It can be deceptively beautiful. A concept which is borne out in Kabbalah, where you can talk about the false beauty of Netzach, and the true beauty of Keter. So there's deception going on. So white magic is trustworthy, basically. And then finally, we come to the very important point that it faces down the devil every day. So I said that it causes permanent change in consciousness. White magic causes permanent change in consciousness, but every day you will be assailed by worries and demonic attack. and other people attacking you, and people flaming you and scamming you and stalking you, and the dog getting ill or something, and or your job might be in peril, or the mortgage company's getting cranky with you or something, and there's lots, or your wife fed up with you, or your husband's fed up with you or something, or you think he's having an affair, or she's having an affair, or whatever. So that every day, White Magic faces down the devils, the P demons and the F demons, the Fury demons and the Fear demons, and White Magic will every day face these things down if you let it. And so you have to employ White Magic methods every day to ensure that you remember Jesus. Remember Jesus' sacrifice. For example, remember the white magic of Jesus and the white magic that is coming through you, despite all the distractions of ordinary life, which is life in this world. And so I was going to also put here a point that that white magic has a sense of humour. I didn't put it in, but I should have perhaps, because you can always tell a fanatic, you can always tell a mad person because they have no sense of humour. You can always tell someone who's very ego bound because they have no self-deprecating sense of the absurd. Because magic, white magic, black magic, in a way, these terms are absurd, really, and only apply to this world anyway. Because in transcendental world, there is no magic, there is no white or black. So in a way, it's all a sort of silly joke, really. It's all sort of like I'm kind of pulling a leg in one sense, but also I'm being deadly serious in another. So I think sense of humour, white magic instills, inspires a sense of humour and a kind of lightness of touch, a lightness of being, as it were. And whenever you get people that are like really into power, I know power trips, and people say I'm an ipsissimus. Well, if anybody says they're an ipsissimus, they're not an ipsissimus. Because you never tell anybody what magical grade you are under any circumstances. There's various magical grades, and you never tell anybody your magical grade at all, ever. And the moment you do, you don't have that magical grade. It's taken away from you, firmly but gently. Uh, so um, you never broadcast it, you never know. And the works of healing and the works of charity are always done anonymously, like the Freemasons do, because you don't want to be given a medal. No one's going to pin a medal on you. You just help people like the Good Samaritan because it's the white magic thing to do. You're helping others, but specifically you're helping people to realize soul, to become aware of soul by all sorts of various means, by use of chants and sigils and rituals, and I don't know, any books and poems and art and sculpture and anything basically which makes somebody look at it and say, ah, I know I am soul. So anything, it might be in a public gallery, it might be in a library, and somebody encounters what you've done in the name of white magic, and they suddenly have a kind of like aha moment. Oh, I am so. So that's basically very briefly what white magic is, and I suppose if anybody can think of anything else that's characteristic of white magic as opposed to just magic, then feel free to to chime in, and I hope that you will be sensitive to white magic and see it when white magic is there before you. And I can't wait for these sigils that I received recently to be used in a context. And because I'm also a very visual person, so I love looking at objects. I always have. There's a picture of me as a baby, looking at a toy with great intensity, turning it over and over, really looking at it and examining it very, very closely. So I'm a very, very visual person. That's how I learn, through visual aids. And sigils are very, important to me. So I can't wait really to see these sigils in action and in context, and to use them as part of an ongoing daily program of withstanding and withstanding and surviving my own self and all the shenanigans of the lower worlds.